And welcome back, everyone. Are you ready to get your competitive game face on? Next, we are pleased to welcome the Pursuit of Excellence panelists and moderator, Audrey. Audrey, I'm going to let you take it away.
Awesome. Merci, Alison. Hi, and welcome, everyone, for this next part of the Inspire, a virtual skydiving conference. Before the last break, we've seen influence and impact through the lens of professional skydiving, presented by Melanie Curtis. My name is Audrey Ravou, and I am honored to be your host for the next two panel discussions. You are about to meet some extraordinary women, and some may speak French. So as Alison was saying just before we started, if it's too exotic for you, you can download the app on your phone for free that will give you translated live caption while they speak. The link for the app is on the CSPA website of the event. The agenda with me is to have a 20-minute break before we talk about not your typical 9 to 5, but right now we're going to talk about the pursuit of excellence. Before we jump in our first topic, let me switch to French for a short introduction. Salut et bienvenue à tout le monde pour cette prochaine partie de Inspirer, une conférence virtuelle sur le parachutisme. Avant la pause, nous avons vu la présentation, l'influence et l'impact à travers la lentille du parachutisme professionnel de Melanie Curtis. Je m'appelle Audrey Ravou et je suis très honorée d'être votre hôte pour les 2 prochaines tables rondes. Vous êtes sur le point de rencontrer plusieurs femmes hors du commun. Si vous avez du mal à suivre en anglais, comme l'expliquait Alison, je vous rappelle que vous pouvez télécharger gratuitement l'application sur votre téléphone qui vous donnera une traduction sous-titrée en direct. Le lien est sur le site web de l'événement. On va avoir une pause de 20 minutes avant de parler de un travail tout sauf banal, mais tout de suite, on commence avec la poursuite de l'excellence. Hey, ladies, thank you for being with us for this Pursuit of Excellence panel. I am going to let you introduce yourselves. So maybe you could remind us where you're from, what's your skydiving experience, what discipline you compete in, and what achievement you've made in competing. Valérie, serais-tu assez courageuse pour briser la glace et te présenter en nous rappelant d'où tu viens, ton expérience en parachutisme, dans quelle discipline tu compétitionnes et tes accomplissements en compétition?
Ben oui, donc je me lance. Moi, mon nom, c'est Valérie Bisson. Je viens de Montréal. En fait, j'ai commencé à faire du tunnel vers l'âge de 11 ou 12 ans. Là, je ne me souviens pas exactement du détail. Puis j'ai fait mon PAC pour commencer le parachutisme à l'âge de 17 ans, accompagné par mon père qui est instructeur. Puis en fait, moi, je fais partie des équipes nationales en VR4 depuis justement l'âge de 17 ans. J'ai commencé comme alternate avec l'équipe de fusion, puis j'ai rapidement été upgradée à une membre complète pour 4 ans, je crois. Donc avec 2 championnats du monde où on est arrivé en quatrième position. Puis, on a fait le WAG, qui sont les World Air Games à Dubaï, qu'on est arrivé en 3e place dans le Open féminin. Puis ensuite, après avoir terminé avec Fusion, j'ai transféré avec mon équipe actuelle, qui est l'équipe Catastrophe, qui est formée de ma famille, mon père, mon frère et mon conjoint. Puis, on est depuis 2019 l'équipe nationale en Open. Puis, je fais aussi partie du comité organisateur des nationaux de la CSPA qui ont eu lieu en 2021 à Parachute Voltige, puis qui auront aussi lieu en 2023 à Parachute Voltige.
Excellent, merci Valérie. Caitlin, you would be the next one, if you may. Where is Caitlin? Ah. We can't hear you. You have to unmute yourself.
Thank you.
Oh, good.
I'm Caitlin Escott. I'm from BC. I've been skydiving since 2010. I've been on the Canadian wingsuit team since 2019. I've competed at several nationals in Canada and in Australia. And I most recently competed at Worlds in Arizona last year.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Kelsey, would you like to be the next one?
Sure. My name is Kelsey Fry. I compete in canopy piloting. I've been skydiving since 2005 and competing since about 2010. I've competed at several Canadian nationals and world meets as well, and I currently hold 2 Canadian women's records in canopy piloting. I also am an organizer and I guess team member where we organize an Alberta-wide canopy piloting circuit, and we've been doing that for many years now, so involved in that side of it as well, and on the coaching side too. So hello, everyone.
Pretty cool. Coralie, à ton tour, si tu le veux bien.
Bonjour, donc mon nom c'est Coralie Boudreau, j'ai 19 ans. J'ai commencé à faire de la chute libre intérieure quand j'avais 11 ans, donc ça fait 8 ans déjà. Puis j'ai fait mon PAC il y a 4 ans. J'ai aussitôt commencé à faire de la compétition dans le ciel parce que ça a toujours été mon but. Je faisais de la compétition dans le tunnel le temps d'avoir l'âge pour pouvoir compétitionner dans le ciel. Puis, quelques-uns de mes plus grands accomplissements, ça a été de finir 3e à la Coupe du monde au Bahreïn en 2018 en junior freestyle. Sinon, en 2020, avec mon ancien coéquipier, on a été vice-champion de France en freestyle à outdoor. Et puis, à la dernière compétition qui a eu lieu en octobre dernier, j'ai fini 4e avec Benoît Lemay, qui est mon partenaire actuel en freestyle pour les championnats du monde.
Excellent. Merci, Coralie. Carmen, à ton tour.
Hi, so I'm Carmen Junot from Quebec City. I've done my first tandem jump in 2004, and my beginnings, I've been very slow in the sport. Recently, in the 5 last year, I tripled my jump up to 1800, and by doing mainly the crew discipline, this is my discipline. So I've competed twice at the national and once at the Worlds with the simple goal just to score higher than our previous scores. Also, I've been part of the last 54-way sequential world record in November, and some 65-way, which are the largest formation who flew since 2007.
Awesome. Thank you, Carmen. The last but not the least, Rena.
Hello, my name is Rena Gallo and I live in Vancouver, British Columbia. It's beautiful over here, nice and sunny. I began my skydiving career in 1987 and I competed in accuracy, but I really loved formation skydiving. I stopped competing many years ago. But I decided to go in a different direction and I became a judge and eventually became an international judge. And since my first love is formation skydiving, I have been judging that discipline at World Cups and World Championships since 1999. I moved on in my career, and so now I'm a Canadian delegate to the International Skydiving Commission. That commission sets the rules for competition and records worldwide every year. I'm on the judges committee of that, and I'm also chair of the Canopy Formation Committee. And in 2020, I became one of the vice presidents of that body. So I'm here as the panel's token bureaucrat.
Thank you, Rena. Okay, excellent. Thank you all. Let's start. Le parachutisme, en particulier la compétition, est très dominé par la jante masculine. Alors, comment vous êtes-vous débrouillé dans ce monde d'hommes et y a-t-il des obstacles spécifiques que vous avez rencontrés en tant que femme en compétition? Skydiving, especially competition, is very male-dominated. How have you navigated your way through this? Are there any specific barriers you encountered as a woman in competition? Caitlin, would you like to be the first to answer?
Yeah, wingsuit performance flying interests me because I could see it as a tool to help me progress. It gave me a framework to measure that progress, and it pushed me towards more focused training. I've never really been a very competitive person, but wingsuit competition is less about being better than other people and more about being better than you were yesterday. And so the gender of my counterparts, I have never felt has anything to do with my drive to be the best pilot that I can be. I think from the outside looking in, the view of the wingsuit performance community is that we're sort of a bunch of loner nerds doing solo skydives and looking at fly site data, and most of that is true. But I've found that my fellow competitors are highly intelligent, welcoming, humble, and happy to share their knowledge to grow the community. So navigating my way into this group has been a wonderful lesson in the power of camaraderie, actually. And the barriers that I've faced have almost nothing to do with my genitals. And I guess a little bit of it is to do with my stature. I am short and light, and this is not a very ideal body type for the discipline that I've chosen. Unlike the UFC, there are no separate categories for height, weight, gender, and it's just physics that I will never be able to go as fast as someone that's 200 pounds, 6'4". And sometimes this can be discouraging, but ultimately I'm doing this because I love flying and I love pushing myself to be constantly improving. And I think the biggest barriers that most people face are the ones that they place on themselves. And I feel that you just have to decide that you want to do it more than you're afraid of it.
Very cool. Kelsey, what's your opinion on this?
Yeah, so canopy piloting for sure is another discipline that's numbers wise is definitely male dominated. I don't think there's any particular reason for that. I mean, we have women competing at the very top of the very elite levels and doing very well, winning, in fact. And so I think culturally we have some barriers that they're not really real. We sometimes set, I think, lower expectations on women to not perform at as high of level with regards to flying their parachute. I think one of the ways we need to put it on ourselves to set our own bar really high, find coaches that work well with you personally. It doesn't have anything to do with your gender specifically. It's just having that chemistry with your coach, and setting goals that are above and beyond just getting by. But yeah, I mean, the other thing we see is stature related. I mean, similar to wingsuiting, size and weight is a bit of an advantage, but to be honest, I think that advantage kind of levels off at the elite level. We see it more pronounced in the lower intermediate levels throughout the progression. And once we get to the top, and we see a variety of body types that are performing at the very top of the elite level. So it's just kind of understanding that your progression may look different at the beginning, but ultimately, you know, if you're interested in performing well and going fast and having fun and beating all the boys, like, this is definitely, canopy piloting is super fun. The community is really, really welcoming. I've had great experiences with my peers of, you know, all the men are fantastic. There's not a barrier there. It's just a really fun time. And we're kind of, again, we're kind of seen as the outcasts, the weirdos. We're also nerding out over fly site data and doing solo skydives.
I see Caitlin can relate.
Yeah. It's very similar in a lot of ways. Yeah. But it's really fun. And at the end of the day, training is really fun. We train together. You know, it's an individual sport maybe, but we definitely train as a team. And yeah, we learn from each other. And at the end of the day, skydiving is fun, right? It's fun to fly parachutes, fun to go fast, if you're into that. And yeah, so I'd say that there's not really any gender barriers that are really worth giving any weight to. It's just
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. I'm going to go to the next question. How do you balance your competitive drive with your own mental health? Donc, comment faites-vous pour trouver le sain équilibre entre votre esprit de compétition et votre propre santé mentale? Coralie, je suis curieuse de savoir ce que tu penses de ça.
Yeah, so I think even without the competition aspect, skydiving can be a very immersive sport. it's easy to want to go to the drop zone every day, to want to spend all your money in it and put all your energy in this. So especially with the performance aspect of competition, I think it's just important to remember what are the other aspects of your life that are important as well, and not throw everything out once you find skydiving, and just keep in mind that it's important to give energy to some other spheres of your life. So for example, when I was 11, my two main things that were important for me were academic performances and sport performances. Mm-hmm. I didn't really need to put that much energy into social interactions or social life. But with time, I had to reevaluate like what balance was for me, because I had to introduce some time for work, boyfriend, or social interactions in general. So I think it's just to keep in mind that balance is constantly changing and is not always composed of the same thing and the same amount of energy for like every aspect of your life. And for mental health, it's just to keep in mind that performance is not always required, because it's easy to fall into bad habits when we want to perform at a certain level. And it's hard to not apply performance to every aspect of your life. So I personally did that, and I would not recommend it. So it's just important to be aware of it and try to prevent it. And it's okay to be in the performance 100% for some period of time, but it's also super important to be able to chill for some other time.
Awesome. Carmen, what about you?
I've learned so much in self-development within the past year, and largely due to skydiving community. First, I'll say that a well-balanced mindset in the context of performance, it starts with being authentic and vulnerable, like Melanie Curtis says earlier. It means showing your true you. It's a strength. And in the past, I've been hiding my true me when I was feeling ashamed and guilty, when I was doing mistakes. And then I was on the path of the fear. And I believe, and I haven't understood that to grow, it's really better to be on the path of the hurt. And it's much better. I think it's essential to grow and to go towards a goal. Towards a goal, I see two options. So when you are making a good choice, you can allow yourself to be proud. Even if it's a very small steps, allow yourself like to be proud of it. And if you do something that is not correlating with your vision, with your goal, when you do mistakes, then the other option is to learn. And it can be difficult. You need to have that belief that you are able to change. And for me, it was difficult in the past. I haven't got this belief always, mostly because of the label I was putting on myself, because of the label other people were putting on me. And it's been difficult, but a part of me had faith, and the love for myself allowed me to step off of my comfort zone and to show my true me. I've been visualizing the objective and recognizing the tool I already had. And I've been defined what was the smallest step I can do to reach and to do better. Then I saw my progress. And this has induced more faith to make the wheel turn. And I think all this courage started by being authentic and vulnerable. I believe those qualities are key for the self-recognition, which bring self-confidence. And it's also some important ingredients to build strong relations that are so helpful for any projects.
Absolutely.
Puis, excuse Audrey, j'aimerais ça juste ajouter un petit point aussi qui fait suite un peu à ce que Carmen a dit. Comme Mélanie l'a super bien dit tout à l'heure, c'est correct de prendre... Bon, je suis tout le temps en train de m'étouffer, je m'excuse. C'est correct de prendre un step back.
Ouais.
Si jamais on se rend compte que la pression autour ou la pression qu'on se met nous-mêmes, puis comme Carmen l'a dit, le fameux label qu'on se met sur nous, puis comme Coralie l'a dit, tout change au fur et à mesure du temps, puis c'est pas un échec, c'est pas une failure de dire je me retire d'un objectif que je m'étais donné parce que finalement, c'est too much pour moi.
Ouais.
Puis ça fait aussi que, ben, à place de burn-out puis de prendre un arrêt, comme Mélanie l'a dit, puis qu'elle a dû complètement sortir du parachutisme, ben, on arrête un instant, on prend une pause de compétition, on recommence en réalignant nos buts. C'est correct, puis c'est une bonne chose à faire.
Oui, parfait. I would go to Caitlin now because I'm curious about you. What do you think about that balance between your competitive drive and your own mental health, especially because you had a recent speed flying accident?
Yeah, that's right. In January, I broke my back, and it's been difficult to find what's left of me and my personality without my physical abilities, without all of the activities that I do. My work and my play is all heavily based on my body functioning perfectly.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that there's this kind of messed up and also beautiful thing about being in this community, that there's no shortage of people that have had traumatic injuries. I think almost every single one of my friends that came to see me in the hospital had also had some type of serious accident, which I'm sure was alarming for my family, but
Yep.
but it means that I have a very strong support network of people that understand the passion, and they understand what it's like to have those things taken from you. And it's really reminded me of this word community that we use, and I really feel that a lot right now, being able to lean on my friends in the community. And I guess I've been forced into finding that balance. You know, I don't know if I've done a good job of it really up until now, but I'm finding out all sorts of new things about myself. And I mean, I don't know if I really have any answers, I guess. But I think it's really important to focus on the things that we can do, not what we can't, and to remember how far I've come, you know. And I think that can translate to not being injured. You know, when you're having tough times and you're being very self-critical, to remind yourself that you've done some pretty awesome things and you have it in you to create more magic in your life, and you can just keep charging ahead, feeling stoked that you have all the tools that you need already.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow, that was deep. The next question is specifically addressed to Valérie et Coralie. Growing up in a competitive mindset, how do you think your life has been different from the other kids and teens, and do you miss not having had a typical childhood? Alors, vous avez grandi dans un environnement compétitif. En quoi pensez-vous que votre vie a été différente de celle des autres enfants ou adolescents? Et aujourd'hui, diriez-vous que ça vous a manqué de ne pas avoir eu une enfance typique? Valérie, est-ce que tu voudrais commencer?
Ben oui. Ben, c'est sûr, en fait, que le fait d'avoir grandi, puis non seulement dans le parachutisme, mais dans n'importe quel sport de compétition, c'est une expérience qui est ultra enrichissante là, pour un ado, pour un enfant. Ça nous apprend tellement d'habiletés personnelles parce on se développe en tant que personne dans un mindset de travailler notre autonomie, toute la persévérance, la discipline, tout ça. Donc, ça nous apporte énormément de bénéfices. Puis moi, personnellement, j'étais en compétition en tunnel, puis en fait, Coralie aussi, là, dans le même affaire, on était en compétition en tunnel un peu partout autour du monde dès qu'on avait 12-13 ans. Puis après ça, ben, ça m'a fait rencontrer énormément de monde, des amis autour du monde, des mentors. J'ai compétitionné aussi contre des adultes, fait que ça me donnait beaucoup un point de vue différent. C'est sûr, par contre, que ça te pousse à vieillir rapidement, là. On n'a pas vraiment beaucoup d'espace pour faire nos expériences. Tu sais, les enfants de 14, 15, 16, 17 ans qui vont faire leur niaiserie, ben, nous, malheureusement, on a un peu une pression de « faut qu'on soit discipliné, you need to show up ». Tu sais, peu importe la compétition, peu importe si tu as décidé d'aller prendre un verre avant puis de l'échapper parce que c'est ton premier verre dans ta vie. Et là, je dis pas que j'avais 17 ans. On va donner l'âge qu'on veut. Mais le principe est le même. Les adultes, puis nous-mêmes aussi, on a énormément de pression. On se fait mettre de la pression parce qu'on a nos coachs, on a des commanditaires, il y a tout un environnement autour de nous qui est énormément plein de pression. Puis gérer aussi tout ce qui est l'école, le travail, l'entraînement, ça fait un horaire très, très chargé. Puis souvent, ben, ce que moi j'en retire, c'est ce qui nous manque le plus, c'est l'interaction sociale qu'on n'a pas eue avec nos amis. Que nos amis, eux, le vendredi soir, ils vont faire une sortie où ils sont ensemble, mais nous, on ne peut pas parce que le samedi matin, on s'entraîne. Fait que ça, c'est sûr que c'est difficile, puis c'est vraiment très difficile pour un ado parce qu'à cet âge-là, on est en recherche de notre environnement social, on cherche qui on est. Est-ce que c'est vraiment ce que je veux faire? Est-ce que je fais ça parce que les autres m'ont comme mené à faire ça? Fait que c'est vraiment une grosse dualité là, entre les deux, de gérer tout ça.
Oui. OK. Coralie, qu'en penses-tu, toi?
Valérie, elle a quand même vraiment bien expliqué c'est quoi le mode de vie qu'on a quand on est un enfant athlète. Ça s'applique vraiment à tous les sports. Puis, en bref, c'est un mode de vie qui laisse très peu de place à la spontanéité. Donc, tu sais, s'il y a une activité qui est organisée par des amis ou de la famille ou même des rassemblements familiaux, dans mon cas, c'est souvent l'été. Ça fait quelques années que j'ai pas pu me pointer, que j'ai pas pu voir ces gens-là. Aller prendre un verre, comme Valérie disait, un vendredi soir, ben c'est rare que c'est possible parce que soit qu'il y a une compétition qui arrive, soit qu'il y a de l'entraînement le lendemain, soit qu'il faut que je sois en forme pour rattraper les études que la compétition m'a empêché de faire. C'est vraiment, tu sais, un cercle de performance qui s'applique à tous les niveaux. Puis, comme j'en ai parlé un peu, c'est difficile de comme pas appliquer cette performance-là à tous les aspects de notre vie une fois qu'on est embarqué là-dedans. Puis, je vais être honnête, moi, j'ai commencé à sentir quelques manques là, depuis quelques temps au niveau justement des interactions sociales puis de la liberté. Donc là, je fais des actions qui font en sorte que justement, il y a plus de place pour la spontanéité dans ma vie, que je peux décider de dire oui à une occasion qui se présente, puis de vraiment comme choisir ce que j'ai envie de faire, puis pas être obligée parce que mon calendrier est plein de comme suivre un horaire à la lettre. Fait que c'est quand même c'est des trucs à accepter, puis c'est quelque chose que je regrette absolument pas, que je referais n'importe quand. Mais je pense que c'est important à un certain moment, justement, pour pas avoir à se retirer du sport complètement, de juste comme être conscient du mode de vie qu'on a, puis être conscient des manques que ça peut apporter, parce que c'est sûr que être performant autant pendant autant d'années, dans mon cas, ça fait 8 ans, tu sais, c'est sûr que quand on se sacrifie certaines choses, ça va nous rattraper à un moment donné. Puis certaines personnes vont être correctes avec le fait que c'est un sacrifice fait, puis ils n'auront pas besoin de nécessairement prendre le temps de rattraper ça. Mais dans mon cas, tu sais, je sens que c'est maintenant le temps avant l'université, justement, parce que les études sont encore importantes. C'est vraiment le temps de comme remettre les pendules à l'heure, si on veut, puis de justement rattraper un peu le retard qui a été fait. Mais sinon, du côté plus positif, la compétition, puis le mode de vie de voyager, de voir d'autres cultures, de voir d'autres modes de pensée que celui qu'il y a chez nous, d'avoir des amis qui sont de partout, c'est vraiment quelque chose qui permet de, oui, grandir vite, mais surtout d'apprendre des choses que l'école puis la vie locale nous aurait jamais appris. Donc, c'est vraiment le fun, je trouve, puis c'est quelque chose que j'échangerais pour rien, honnêtement.
Excellent. Excellent.
Et je voulais aussi ajouter, parce que moi, je suis physiothérapeute en pédiatrie. Donc, je travaille avec beaucoup d'enfants qui sont impliqués dans des sports de haut niveau. Puis ça, c'est vraiment quelque chose qui n'est pas du tout lié juste au parachutisme. Ces impacts-là, il y a de plus en plus d'études qui ressortent sur l'impact des sports de haut niveau chez les adolescents, peu importe le sport. Puis, ce qui est important de mettre en place, et surtout au niveau des adultes qui encadrent ces sports-là, bien, c'est de le savoir que les adolescents, c'est pas des jeunes, c'est pas des mini-adultes. Puis, les ados sont tellement dans une période critique dans leur développement qu'ils se cherchent, ils se remettent en cause, ils remettent en cause leur famille, ils remettent en cause un peu tout. Puis c'est important de ne pas les culpabiliser par rapport à ça, parce que c'est fréquent, la majorité des adolescents qui sont dans un sport de compétition depuis longtemps ou de très haut niveau vont se remettre en cause, vont se demander si est-ce qu'ils veulent réellement faire ce sport-là, est-ce que je lâche tout ça? Puis c'est dans les études, c'est un des points qui est le plus important, c'est d'offrir un endroit à ces ados-là d'en parler, puis à ces jeunes adultes-là aussi, d'en parler, d'être ouvert, puis pas juste dire ben là, tu veux lâcher parce que tu n'es pas assez persévérant, parce que tu n'es pas si, puis aussi de comprendre que ces problèmes-là, pour un enfant, c'est un gros... Ça a l'air d'une montagne. T'sais, même si, ben moi, j'ai de la misère à concilier l'école puis l'entraînement, puis je trouve ça dur, ben de pas dire « Ah ben là, attends, à mon âge, tu vas avoir le travail, l'entraînement, payer les factures, payer ci, payer ça. » De vraiment comprendre que pour ces enfants-là qui s'impliquent dans un jeune âge, ben, c'est pas les mêmes difficultés qu'un adulte. Puis d'avoir cette place-là, ce safe place-là aussi pour les jeunes, puis avoir des mentors à travers le sport. Oui, exact.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. Il y a une recherche d'identité qui n'est pas du tout la même que pour un adulte, en fait, si je comprends bien.
Exact.
Est-ce qu'on avait quelques secondes restantes?
Vas-y, je t'en prie, c'est une question importante.
Donc, le dernier point que j'ai un peu oublié de mentionner, c'est qu'à un certain niveau, il y a aussi une réputation qui vient avec les titres qu'on gagne, l'impact qu'on a. Tu sais, j'ai vraiment beaucoup de difficultés à me rendre compte des fois que j'ai une influence sur les gens dans le sport, puis que c'est important pour moi d'être consciente de la réputation que j'ai quand je fais mes expériences. Tu sais, ce que je veux dire, c'est que faut pas qu'on se mette dans des situations embarrassantes, faut vraiment qu'on fasse attention à l'image qu'on va projeter sur les médias sociaux. Faut pas qu'on soit identifié dans des trucs qui peuvent être compromettants au niveau des commanditaires, au niveau de l'image qu'on a. Fait que, tu sais, ça aussi, c'est quelque chose qui, à un jeune âge, peut être vraiment difficile à gérer parce que, oui, on a comme de la certaine liberté pour faire nos expériences quand on a du temps puis quand on décide de prendre ce choix-là. Mais après ça, c'est d'être vraiment conscient de justement toute l'image qu'on a, de la réputation qu'on a, puis de faire attention à cet égard.
Oui, en fait, la pression, elle dépasse le cadre strict de l'activité en question, quoi. Elle déborde sur ta vie privée, là. Ouais.
Exact.
Okay. Excellent. Alors, I am now going to ask Rina a specific question. Il y a toutes sortes de rôles dans les coulisses d'une compétition et je vais demander à Rina comment elle a commencé à juger et comment elle a évolué dans les rôles qu'elle occupe aujourd'hui et si elle a des conseils pour les parachutistes qui pourraient être intéressés à juger en compétition. So, Rina, there are many roles behind the scenes of competition. How did you get into judging and develop into the roles you fill today? And do you have any tips for skydivers maybe interested in judging competition?
Well, it's a bit of a story, but I think my first competition I ever went to was in the middle of nowhere, and it was just a small local competition, and I saw judges there using telemeters. Now, most people now probably don't know what those are, but it was interesting to watch them. I thought, oh, isn't that kind of cool? But in 1995, I decided to go to a boogie in Eloy they had a boogie during the World Meet. And I had a couple of friends judging down there, and I was watching, and it was really exciting. There was a lot of energy going around, and I thought, you know what? I'm not sure I can compete at this level, but I want to participate at this level. And judging seemed to be a natural fit for me. So I started to pursue that. And from there, right after that, CSPA was giving a course in judging, and I took that, and I just kept on going and going and going. And I became a provincial judge, a national judge, international judge, and along the way, and my progression too was very, very slow, because I'm always questioning myself. I'm always afraid to walk through that next door. I'm always thinking, oh, you know, I'm not good enough. But as time went on, I realized that, okay, either I move up or I move out. And I need to take on these challenges, because otherwise, you know, there's nothing exciting anymore. So I became an event judge, I became a chief judge. And then somewhere along the line, I ended up, again, putting one foot in front of the other. I was thinking about the ISC, and that always interested me too. And then a question came up, who's going to, you know, like, is anybody interested in filling the shoes, because we need to do a succession plan? And I thought, well, yeah, actually I am interested. So I started doing that. I started going there, and because of the people I met internationally judging, I already knew a lot of people there. So it kind of like, it just kind of like moved into that area, and it was easier than I thought. And then I became a member of the Judges Committee, the chair of the Canopy Formation Committee. And then in 2020, I decided, well, I'm going to run for vice president, and I've been there for 2 terms now. And I find the whole thing extremely exciting for me. I know, like most people, they're into competition, but that's my side of the competition. And my advice to anybody who wants to become a judge: work hard, be committed to it, be the best judge you can be. And because really, you're judging the best in the world, and they deserve that much respect. They work hard. You have to be as good as they are. Otherwise, you're doing them a disservice. I've always believed, and things are a little bit different now with the way scoring systems work, but when I started, I got to see the best jumps in the world. I got to see them first, and I got a front row seat. And to me, that was an awesome position to be in. But with it came an awesome responsibility.
Of course.
You know, so what I'd like to say to anybody who's interested in going down the road I took, if you see an opportunity, no matter how small no matter how small or how uncomfortable it makes you, say yes. Walk through that door, because every time I've done that, I've never regretted it. And there's a saying that I really like, and it's, the person who bemoans the lack of opportunity forgets that small doors many times open up into large rooms. So that's one thing that I've always believed in. And if I could give anything to somebody, I would say that. Just keep on walking through the doors and just move ahead.
Very cool. Thank you, Rina. I have a few more questions, but I see the clock ticking. So I just want to remind the audience, we have a Q&A period coming. So feel free to write down your questions in the chat. Alors pour l'audience, on a encore quelques questions, mais vous pouvez aussi poser les vôtres dans le chat. Alors je vais continuer pour l'instant avec une autre question. comment faites-vous face à la responsabilité de représenter le Canada dans le sport du parachutisme et comment arrivez-vous à trouver un équilibre de vie entre parachute et vie hors du parachute? How do you cope with the responsibility of representing Canada in the sport of skydiving, and how do you balance them with your non-skydiving life? Kelsey.
Yeah, sorry, a little slow on the mute button there. Yeah, so I mean, representing Canada, certainly comes with responsibilities, and we have we're responsible to represent our country in a respectable way. Our sport of skydiving, often we're on stage in front of an audience that's not normally familiar with skydiving. Where of course some of us have obligations to our sponsors to maintain, and then of course we're responsible for ourselves. We have to show up at a competition as prepared as possible, in a good physical state. We've done all the training that we can do. Hopefully we feel ready to be there. Not that we don't have bad days in competition sometimes, but if we do, we need to be gracious, and show good sportsmanship and maintain an image. The good news is these things aren't, other than the training can be hard, but the rest of it isn't really difficult to do. It's fun. There's no greater honor than to go to an international competition and be able to represent your country. And everyone there is in a similar boat. We get to travel around the world. We see many of the same competitors over and over again, and we get to see their progression and see people moving up and improving. And there's a camaraderie between countries and even within the Canadian team between disciplines. It's really, really a fun place to be. So it might sound daunting, but really it's a really fun time. And in terms of balancing non-skydiving, and this is a tough one for me. I'm not full-time in the sport, or at least not anymore. I need to have a bit of contrast, I guess, in order to maintain my love for the sport. When I tried to be full-time, I burned out really quick, but that's my own personal experience. So for me, it is really difficult, to get the vacation time to go to these things from my real world job, to get the money and time together to train. So at the end of the day, you do what you can. You need to decide what your end goal is. If you want to be a world champion, then you definitely need to make sacrifices in the rest of your life in order to get there. If you want to just train for performance and not necessarily have a competition related goal, like that's totally fine too. And might be a little easier to balance with other things, or maybe it's something in the middle of those two things. And there's no wrong answer. I think the right thing is just to be true to yourself on what your end goal is, and recognize that different levels of commitment are required, and ask yourself, is it realistic? Do I really want to sacrifice the rest of my life to become a world champion? And if the answer is no, like that's totally fine. And if it's yes, that's also totally fine. There's no right answer there. So I guess all I'm saying is you just need to be true to yourself, and balance the best you can. There's not really a correct formula for it.
Okay, thank you. Caitlin, how do you cope with the responsibility of representing Canada in the sport, and how do you balance them with your non-skydiving life?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with a lot of what Kelsey just said. First of all, I love my teammates, and I feel very proud and honored to be able to represent Canada with them. It's an awesome, supportive team. We're all really stoked on learning from each other and learning from other world competitors. And like I kind of said before, I'm not sure if what I'm doing is would be considered balance to a lot of people, but my non-skydiving life is either base jumping or working so that I can skydive and base jump more. Someone said to me very early on, it was was like a burnt out actor. He was not involved in skydiving at all, but he said, you know, you don't have to work in your main passion. You can keep it as the fun thing and you can make money another way. And I have a lot of respect for people that work in the sport and love it. But I knew for myself that I needed to make it a priority to choose a career that would allow me to make the most amount of money in the least amount of time, so that I could really put a lot of the focus on training and competition, because it's not cheap and there's almost no funding available to us. So I guess that's where my balance is that, you know, I do coach a bit, but it's not for my main job. It's to share knowledge with people and help them feel more stoked and just share the knowledge and all of that. So, you know, I think that, yeah, balance is different for everybody. And so whatever that ends up looking like for each of us is totally okay. You know, I don't think you have to have a whole life outside if you don't want to. And yeah, I mean, however you choose to experience it is perfect. You know, that's different for everyone.
Absolutely. So thank you very much, ladies. And before we go to our Q&A, I have a question for Carmen. Carmen, j'ai entendu dire que tu organisais un gros événement. Est-ce que tu aimerais nous en parler un peu? So we hear you're organizing a big event. Do you want to tell us about it?
Yes. So we are currently talking about a new crew women's world record to beat the 25 way that have been built in 1997, actually. It's been a time.
Wow.
And we are really optimistic right now because last week at the event Spring Fling, 24 women showed up. So it's amazing. We are so few in the world. And we have been setting up a new Florida State record, 16 women. Actually, 16 women together, it's not difficult to build a 16 way. It's difficult to bring 16 women together.
Of course, yeah.
There is not a lot of women doing crew in the world. And actually, the first step for the record is to recruit. So, because we don't want to beat the record only by 1 point. So, I'm inviting women skydiver to taste the crew only one time, and I know what it's gonna be generated. And after that, oh yeah, this summer there is multiple introduction course held around the continent. I personally organized one in Victoriaville, the 26th of May. There is also another one specifically for women, for 21st of July at the Chicago Skydiving Center. And after that, the main goal will be to raise the abilities. And I think right now on the calendar, it never have been so many events of crew. So it's the time to get into that discipline. And ultimately, we want to bring together 50 women involved and competent to beat the world record. I'm surrounded by passionate people, so I'm confident. And my vision is not just to do it once. It's for this record to be surpassed every time more. And I'm focusing on the next generation and on the human connection for that.
Yeah. Okay, awesome. Thank you. Well, good luck with this wonderful initiative. And I would go to one question I had left. Are there things that drop zones could do to support competition and the development of athletes? Est-ce qu'il y a des choses que les drop zones pourraient faire pour soutenir la compétition et le développement des athlètes? Rina, what do you think about it?
Well, that's the age-old question. What can we do? Lots of countries try everything, and they try, drop zones, try scrambles, they've tried web challenges, and it seems like events kind of take a trajectory and they go up and then they come down again. As people kind of get bored, they go and they find something, do something new, and then they move on to the next thing. But if you really want to do something, I mean, CSPA has athlete development funds that can help with organization of competition, and it's been used before in the past. Like, it's a athlete development program. The other thing that drop zones can do, and a lot of them, is it's counterintuitive to them to do it, but really get your skydivers to travel. Get them out there, because each drop zone has its own culture, and you need to experience new cultures. And, like this drop zone may be an accuracy drop zone. This one may be a formation skydiving drop zone. But if people get out there, they meet new people, they do new things, they see they have new challenges, and they see things through different eyes, and they get different points of view. And for me, like I said, if I hadn't gone to Eloy in 1995, I probably would not be doing what I'm doing today, and I love what I'm doing today. So people get out there and go and travel and meet new people and do new things. For me, that's very important.
Absolutely. Valérie, est-ce que tu aimerais rebondir sur ce que Rina vient de dire? Est-ce que d'après toi, il y a des choses que les drop zones pourraient faire pour soutenir la compétition et le développement des athlètes?
Ben, absolument. Puis ce que Rina vient de dire de voyager, puis d'aller dans des autres drop zones, c'est tellement vrai, puis c'est tellement contre-intuitif pour certaines drop zones, mais ça fait énormément avancer toutes les aptitudes des skydivers aussi, de rencontrer des nouvelles personnes, pas juste d'être coaché d'une seule personne. Puis ça m'amène aussi au fait qu'il y a beaucoup de drop zones qui organisent des camps de coaching, puis ça, c'est merveilleux, mais de pas toujours avoir les mêmes coachs non plus. Ça peut aider, parce que juste des fois, le petit déclic d'un coach qui explique d'une autre manière la même technique, mais ça peut tellement débloquer certaines personnes. Puis d'organiser des petites compétitions pour le plaisir, d'organiser des scrambles, c'est toutes des bonnes manières de faire commencer le monde. Mais après ça, la difficulté, c'est aussi d'offrir des compétitions d'un petit peu plus, de plus grande envergure, pour que le monde garde un objectif, parce que souvent, mais ce qu'on a, c'est que le monde se crée une équipe pour participer à la petite compétition à voltige une fois par année, mais après ça, ils viennent pas, ils continuent pas à s'entraîner, puis ça, c'est la difficulté, puis on la connaît aussi en tant que compétiteur, surtout quand c'est d'organiser des équipes, parce qu'il y a un horaire de 4, 5, 8 personnes, dépendamment des équipes de combien. Fait que d'avoir plusieurs options de compétition throughout the year. Je m'excuse, j'alterne entre français et anglais, mais d'avoir ces opportunités-là pour avoir des buts récurrents, mais ça peut aider aussi le fait de dire, on continue. Parce qu'effectivement, c'est super difficile de se dire, l'objectif, c'est d'aller au championnat du monde, alors qu'on commence une équipe. L'objectif est tellement loin qu'il semble inatteignable.
Oui.
OK.
Excellent. Kelsey, what do you think drop zones could do to support competition?
Yeah, I mean, the easy one for me to say is a canopy pilot. You just build us some ponds, right? No problem. Super easy. But no, I mean, outside of that, really, I think the competition, I guess, mindset comes organically from the ground up. And for a drop zone to support it, I think we just need to do our best to support that community. To echo what Rina said, definitely encouraging travel. For CP, we have to travel these days because there's only so many drop zones that have the facilities that we need. But when people travel, they come back with skills. They come back with things to share with the community, and then collectively our skill set improves. To get to smaller things, CP specific things, bring in coaches, support people doing hop and pop, support the little small training teams that people are putting together to help lift each other up and become better pilots. Set the bar higher. It doesn't mean that everyone has to be a swooper. It just means that everyone should be shooting for a high level of competence in flying their parachute. And that goes for free fall too. It translates everywhere. But I guess that's the big thing, is just to be open to the development of people wanting to compete.
Yeah. Caitlin, do you have an opinion on this?
Yeah, I think that if it's possible for drop zones to host mini competitions, really friendly, lighthearted ways for people to dip their toes into what competition is about, then we will probably see more participation at the national level. It can be really daunting if you've never competed before to then commit to going to the nationals when you really don't know much about it at all. And there are ways that drop zones can do this in supporting people that are already competitors, bringing in people that can help host competitions. And I think it would be a really great way for people. I mean, especially in BC, we have so many small drop zones, but it's possible even in that to have fun, friendly competitions, and so that people can learn more about what it's all about.
Excellent. Thank you, ladies. Coralie, je te donnerai le mot de la fin. Est-ce que en 1 minute et demie, tu pourrais nous dire, avec les championnats nationaux qui approchent, si tu as des conseils à donner aux parachutistes qui pourraient être intéressés par la compétition? So with nationals around the corner this summer, do you have any advice for skydivers that might be interested in competition?
Yes, so my biggest advice would be to just go for it. So sometimes it can be scary to take part in a competition that you feel you're not good enough for. And like everyone said, it's hard to find smaller competition to get used to that kind of event. So I would just say to try, and you can always be surprised by the results anyways. I remember when I did my first competition when I was 11, I had absolutely zero expectation because it was my first ever. It was in a two-way belly. And we ended up winning the competition, and you never know what can happen. So I would just say, if you have a goal, even if it's a long-term goal, you can always try and go for it and see how it goes.
Awesome. Merci, Coralie. Je vois qu'il y a 2 mains qui se lèvent. Maybe Kelsey, go ahead.
Mute button again. I just wanted to pile onto that a little bit to say the mini competitions really do work. I've been involved in the canopy piloting circuit in Alberta for a really long time now, and we grew the community basically from no one competing in canopy piloting to really putting ourselves on the map. As we've brought up a lot of really high level competitors through the swooping community that we created. And so just to say, if that doesn't exist for you, take it on yourself. If that's something that you want, there's nothing stopping anyone in particular from organizing. Doesn't mean you have to be the expert. Just be the organizer. You can bring in a coach, you can bring in other organizers, so it comes from the ground up. If something's missing in your community, build it.
Yeah. Val, je vois que tu lèves la main, mais on n'a vraiment plus le temps, là, je m'excuse.
Mais en fait, Audrey, c'est juste une petite plug pour les nationaux parce qu'on n'a pas parlé des dates.
Oui,
on a dit qu'ils s'en venaient, mais je voulais juste, dans le fond, les nationaux, CSPA s'en viennent à Parachute Voltige cet été. Les dates ont lieu du 9 au 16 septembre 2023. Puis les inscriptions vont être en ligne vraiment bientôt. Fait que restez à l'affût. Puis pour un peu faire suite à tout ce qu'on vient de discuter, c'est important aussi de noter que les nationaux on a des catégories différentes dans la majorité des disciplines. Il y a du rookie, du advanced puis du open. Fait que les niveaux de difficulté existent pour permettre au monde qui n'ont pas beaucoup d'expérience de compétition de participer s'ils veulent. Mais c'est juste que dans les dernières années, on n'a pas eu d'inscription. Fait que ça a l'air de juste être du open, mais il y a des catégories qui existent pour le monde qui veulent participer. Fait que moi, je vous encourage à vous inscrire si c'est possible pour vous. Là, ça serait vraiment super le fun. And I'm just going to say it in English just to make sure that everyone understood. But there is, during nationals from 9 to 16 of September, there is different categories already existing in most disciplines. So we have rookie, advanced, open, to make sure that we can accommodate for different levels of experience skydivers. So really don't be shy to get yourself to nationals if it's possible for you. We would be really glad to have you.
Thank you very much, Valérie. Thank you to all of you. This ends our Pursuit of Excellence panel discussion. Thank you to all for attending, and you will see a QR code on your screen soon, or a direct link in the chat in order to fill out the anonymous feedback form. We are now going to have a 20-minute break, after which we'll meet again for our next panel discussion, not your typical 9 to 5. See ya. La poursuite de l'excellence prend fin ici. Merci à nos formidables panélistes pour leur temps et pour avoir bien voulu partager leur passion pour la compétition. Et à vous tous pour votre participation. Vous allez voir apparaître le code QR à l'écran ainsi qu'un lien direct dans le chat pour nous faire part de vos commentaires. Ce serait vraiment sympa de le remplir. Je vous rappelle que c'est anonyme et on se retrouve dans 20 minutes pour notre prochaine table ronde. Un travail tout sauf banal. À tout de suite.